All right, Civil 3D users, I'm going to try to streamline the process of starting up new Civil 3D. First, please get with Shane or Seth. I would recommend to you all to possibly see which installation files they can just quickly run instead of this first step. But this is something I've learned doing this with many students over time, that as I download these educational softwares, they quickly get signed on with a DJNA user account with Shane's email address or whoever the most current administrator on that is. So I start by going to this page, Autodesk Education Software, and this gets the software downloaded. Like I said, check with Shane first on this. He probably has an install file ready to start installing right away. And the key is once we have this installed, it will log in to the right account. So I'm already logged in, or in this case I'm not. You make your personal account. I'm going to stay signed in. Shane could possibly have done this already in the install file, like I said, is somewhere in our C drive downloads to install. But I'm going to install Civil 3D 2022, and I've already done this to speed up this video, but Windows is the only option, and here I am in here. I'm going to install 2022 in this case. You can install it right from online, and this actually worked really well. I installed it without downloading the file in this manner. It downloaded something when I did this option install, but this works too. You just have to watch where I have everything is automatically download to my desktop. I started the process. It started downloading it after I hit accept right here, and it said, and then I ran this executable and began the installation. So let's just pretend that part's done, or Shane preferably could do that so you can manage the license better. This is just a workaround I've found to go through the Education Center, and then it registers it with AutoCAD. But check with Shane on that one. I have it installed here, Civil 3D 2022 Imperial. It's going to install a metric version. That's for if we do metric drawings. Imperial is what we're going to start with. It sets all the units correctly to imperial feet, although in many spots across the drawing. So let's open it up, and I'm going to turn off my camera here so we can continue seeing the screen. I've already opened it once, so you'll see a couple splash screens probably come up. Your tool space will probably come up over here. Now in 2022, I'm going to exit that out. You'll probably have some transparent toolbars come in here. I already removed those in the first time I opened this by just pulling the toolbars off and hitting X. Those are now in the ribbon. No need to have the toolbar. They're all here. So don't waste your time with the ribbon. Just turn that off. They're all here in this default ribbon. So I'm going to go back to the Home tab. And there's a couple splash screens you'll probably see right away. One of them is this screen, and I like to just pick this. I always reassociate DWG files with AutoCAD, recommended. I start with that, and this just kind of keeps it running smoothly, so it goes to the drawing launcher. And if after you close Civil 3D 2022 or your new install, and you, let's say, double click a drawing, I might click this one. It might want to take me to 2022 because the drawing launcher goes to the last version of AutoCAD typically that you have had it open in. You also have options to open it this way. This is what you want, AutoCAD Dwg Launcher. So you can go to your Windows Explorer, pick said file like this to make sure. Obviously you don't want to open it in MicroStation. This would open it in regular AutoCAD. We don't want that. This sometimes works, but this one I find still works the best. So you might see a splash screen like this up after a new install, and this is where you would, which one you want to open. You would select this AutoCAD DWG Smart Launcher and say always and OK. Hopefully you don't have to do that again for a while, and it stays on whichever current CAD program you were last in. So just keep that in mind to do those two items. Now let's go into setting up things, which will take a little bit of time here. I got some things open so I can speed it up. We're going to start by, and this is some of it's my preferences, but you can totally do what you want. I like my tool space hidden, cascaded down like this. I like it a little bit out so it can build the tree out a little further, especially when I get into profiles and section views. The next thing, I like to turn my properties on. Almost all the palettes you need are up here to turn on and off. So you can also type them in, right click, sometimes there's nothing in this drawing, this new drawings, to click to get properties. So you might have to start typing things in the command bar if you know what to type in, like properties, for example. I know that one by heart. But if you don't know those, you can find almost everything you need up here to turn on and off. So that's me turning properties on and off. I love to have this on the right side. And the more remote I go or back and forth between home and office, I love to try to keep my CAD interface on one large wide screen as much as possible. So when I work on a different PC, I have almost all my tools 90% of the time right here in one screen. Now there's exceptions to that, like the panorama, which I turn on and off depending on my needs. And that one is in here as well. If I could find it, it's called the event viewer, but it actually acts as several different things, like if you're doing quantities or errors come up and you want to ignore, or if you're editing Kogo points or any number of geometry things. This is a nice one I like to keep on a second screen and drag it over, but just so you, for the sake of this tutorial, since I'm on one screen recording, I'm going to say that this is one a lot of times I like on the second screen to do some editing. So yeah, two screens are really nice, but I've gotten my workflow really well with one screen so I can be versatile. I like to leave the properties window over here, and I like to leave it not auto docked. That's just my preference. I like it to, when I click on something, it will stay open the whole time and I can see what immediate properties. Another one I love to have open is my tool palettes. Another Civil 3D related tool to go hand in hand with tool space for all my assemblies. I'll drag that over here. I'm going to hide that. So you drag it just so it should suck into the side. I'm going to auto hide it. I'm going to check my tool space. I might like it even to go a little bit like this to match in with my properties, the tabs. So I make my properties go out a little further. You can see when I hover in the right spot, you can see a drag icon allowing you to do movements. Nothing's locked right now. We're just moving things around. My tool palettes, I want them a little further out. There's way more customization we can do with tool palettes. That's out of the scope of this video. There we got some of those, and they're cascading well with each other. I like to turn on the design center as well. So that's a really, really handy thing. Not all that many people sometimes know about, to drag and drop AutoCAD entities from one drawing to the next. And I'm going to go into quick detail here. You should probably do this first and foremost, is go to where our best templates are. And in this case, I'm going to go to the F drive. And I'm going to cascade this down. I'm going to go to CAD Standards. I'm going to go to, actually we'll go to the 2018 to 2022 templates here, and then the DWTs. Here are our main two templates, survey and regular, and the MPS ones as well. But we're going to call this entire DWT folder in the 2018. We're going to right click and say set as home. So every time you open up Design Center, this file tree is your start. And how's that helpful? It just gets you there quicker. It saves you a minute every single time you want to drag things in. And these are your drawings, your base drawings to grab some of your best stuff from anyway. You can do this with any job in the F drive that you might have very specific Civil 3D things, or not Civil 3D things. This is more AutoCAD stuff, and we'll go into in a second. You want to drag from one drawing. That one, of course, doesn't have a drawing in it. I know this one does. I mapped once. The old file structure. If I open a drawing, I can go into its layers, its layout tabs, its sheets. I can drag sheets in. I can drag line types. Line types are better controlled other ways, but this is old, clunky MTech styles, multi-leader styles, dimension styles. That's why it's best suited to grab the clean new standards from a template. There's going to be times where you need to do both, but so we're back here. Like I said, set that as home. And when you go into a template, let's say DJNA 2018 for all users, survey has very specific survey record set printing options, but they're very similar. Let's go to blocks, for example. This one actually takes a minute. It loads up all current in 2022 January, February, all 117 of our standard blocks. This one takes a minute, but you can quickly drag and drop into any set drawing any of these blocks. You can grab them all, 1, 2, 3, whatever. Here they all are. They're well labeled, well laid out. You can also right click and sort by details, which I oftentimes like to do. It depends. The blocks, I might like to view them in large format to see the picture of them. Dimension styles, I'll probably go to view list. And our standard styles here, there's still some work to be done on them, but these are our main ones. Particularly in our working folder, we have more up-to-date templates, but they're not released yet. And this is the big one, layout tabs. You can pull, drag in already finished out paper space sheets into this drawing. So what does that mean? I'll pull these two, drag them in, left click, hold, drag, give it a second to think. Now they're in here. That's how this is such a handy tool, Design Center. So I like to dock it to the right. You can do whatever you want with it, don't care, but I care that it works for you. So let's go out to this side. It docked it, kind of squished them top and bottom. I don't really like that. So let me try to dock it again. This can get a little tricky sometimes. Should have sucked in because I didn't auto hide one but the other. I'm going to leave my properties open. Now it pulls out tool palettes, tool space for Civil 3D stuff. Last couple I like to do, and you can do them different ways. You can access them sometimes up here in the quick access toolbar. I like to turn all these on, honestly. This is just me. There's a lot of things I like to use a lot. Batch plot, publish, aka publish, plot preview I use a lot to see what things look like in print form. There's properties yet again. Sheet set manager, you could totally just have it up here only and use it once in a while. I don't use it every day, but I like to move this one over here. You can also turn it on in your tool palettes home sheet sets right here. I like to suck it in on this side. I'd love to auto hide this one. Render, maybe not needed, but I turned on all my quick toolbar areas just to show you how to do it. Here's your undo, redo, undo many things at once because AutoCAD's so awesome, and every time you pan it collects a command. I wish they would outdo that, but we're not there yet, so you can do several at a time. Same with redo, but usually redo is a little less. So we got the sheet set. I'm going to add a couple more. I like my external reference manager on, and I love my layer properties manager. So let me do XREF manager, external reference manager. I use this a lot in all our drawings that link different drawings and non-drawings together. We'll cascade that down, have them on the ready when I need, and I'm going to cascade them open a little bit. Sheet set, up to you. If you're a designer going between sheet sets a lot, you might use this a lot. If you're a mapper, you may never touch it. So the last one I'm going to turn on, which is probably one of the most important ones to go with properties, is the layer properties manager. You can turn this on and off also by typing in layer, but this is just showing you how to use the ribbon better. Let's suck it into the side. This one I like cascaded down. It's huge. I'm not going to go every bell and whistle here, but this is in paper space. There's a few things in this layer properties. As you open a template up, I have built out layer group properties, but this is assuming you've just opened AutoCAD for the first time, so I'm trying to show it that way, that a lot of this stuff isn't set up. So our default Civil 3D styles and various ways have opened up in a C drive template that installed with this. I like to have on and freeze, two different ways to turn things on temporarily and more permanently in a drawing. I love that Viewport Freeze now comes right here. I used to do this on my own. I love that it's here now because you're always freezing things on and off in viewports between drawing sheets. I like that it's automatically here now. Lock, plot, yes or no to plot, the color, the viewport color. So these ones I like to be in the background. So my main symbology up here, except for Viewport Freeze, I like to have for individual viewports. I like to move transparency up here, and all the viewport stuff I like to have in the back. So all the main things for said layers globally, these are global settings, I like to have up here, except for Viewport Freeze. And all these viewport specific color, line type, line weight, transparency, I like to put in the background. So if I want to do a viewport override in one viewport on some symbology, I can. This is saying a new viewport freeze. If you created, it's in every new viewport you make, it's already turned on and off. This can be handy. That's more of an advanced thing. This comes in big in templates. I like to have this out a ways. This shows the full length description of what this layer is. And I have this very built out in our DJNA template. It says literally what the layer is. So if you don't know what the shorthand means over here, this is huge. This says this is a design layer. These are the default Civil 3D naming conventions. I've changed some of these so it's obvious. We have some of our DJNA ones already coming in, and I'll show you where those are in the main template in a minute. So I have this set up. Now I'm going to use this one all the time, but it's looking pretty close to the way I want so I can see. It's important to take your time a little bit to get this nice because you're going to be using layers all the time. A couple things further I like to do. We're not going to go into add-ins much right now, but add-ins are pretty easy to add in your ribbon. I have a few. Vehicle trackers, one, you'll have to install that separately, and it will, when you reopen Civil 3D, it will populate as a tab. Another one I use is Sync Pack. There's some other various ones. LandFX for the landscape architects in particular would open up. Those work pretty well, and they open up pretty automatically compared to back 10 years ago. They were clunky. You had to go deep in your settings and your custom user interface. I use Cloudworks and some other Leica ones as well for mapping. Right now I'm going to go into options, and we'll start diving into options. You can also go this way into options, or you can type it in down here, options. 3 ways to get there, like a lot of things. I'm going to change my user interface a little bit. One of my first ones I like to do, and there's several, I'll go through this one by one, is I like to change my colors right away. I like the dark theme overall. You can change it to a light theme if you're scared of new things, scared of the dark, and don't like your new CAD to be dark. It's up to you. I'm going to go to colors. One thing I like to do is on my 2D model space, I like it black, but on my sheets, my paper space, I like this paper background of gray. I think it's a pretty good neutral color. I like that it defaults to that, but I don't like this being white on my sheets because it's harder to see. So I like to change that also to black. And that's a big one for me. And I do a lot of my checking. With that being said, if I type print preview, this doesn't have the correct plot tables yet, so it's going to look in color. It defaults to color when it doesn't know what to do. But if I had the right, which we're going to set up soon, this would be black. This lets me see what it would plot like. I like to do plot preview using this button, or I type in plot preview quite literally, or just preview in the shorthand, and it brings me right to this. This is how I quickly check what it prints like. I like it black here so I can better see things, and it's not so overwhelming with the colors on white. Here's my sandbox area for Civil 3D. For DJNA, we'll have to reset this up a little bit in a minute. It found it somehow. I'm not quite sure how it did that. It's because I brought in these from Design Center. That's why. These default layout paper space tabs had nothing in them, as well as model space. So let's continue on our options, and let's start with going to this area in the F drive. For now, this is where it is right now. F, CAD standards, Civil 3D settings, AutoCAD. This is a little longhand. I might shorten this up. In general, which version of AutoCAD? There's 2 main ones, and all options settings. So I'm going to open up these images. They fall. Some of them are extra things you don't necessarily need to do. Some people say don't ever do that. It's up to you, a lot of this stuff. But I prefer a lot of these settings that I'm about to show you. So I'm going to open this first image, and we're going to start pathing in the options area, the support file path. This lets, in various ways, find things through Windows Explorer. add these in the working and the support file path. These will take a minute, so let me set those up behind the scenes, and then we're going to start going to some other ones. Plot printer support file path. These ones I've had to help people add and install hundreds of times in the last few years, and we've been getting really good at getting these set up, but these help you plot better. I put where I want to on my desktop or whatnot, where my automatic files save file location is. This is huge. This one I think saves me half an hour to 2 hours a week, depending on how big of drawings I am. I set it to every 10 minutes. Back in the day, CAD was a little clunky with this. I think it's an integral part of my efficiency. I put it on my C drive so it saves quicker. You can put it on your F drive, wherever you want. Default template file location, it goes to the overall folder where the 2018 to 2022 templates, 2018 to 2022 DWGs and templates, DWTs are backwards and forwards compatible almost entirely. A couple things aren't. Sometimes the vehicle tracker and the survey databases after Civil 3D 2019 is not compatible with the newer. So there's a couple things, but for the most part they're compatible. Sheet set template, and we're not really using the survey database much anymore. We're using Trimble Business Center for our raw data line work processing 99% of the time now. Sheet sets also go to the DWT folder, the same spot. And like I said, key in on where this is from a minute ago. That's where you need to go to find these images. And going back to that, we're going to also, this is a big one, your default template file for QNew. When you hit new, when you hit a new drawing, this is the exact drawing template you want it to open. Put it where you prefer, but I would highly recommend either choosing DJNA Survey 2018 or DJNA 2018. DJNA 2018 just doesn't have this survey extra 10 sheets of record sets that we produce and certificates of survey, records of survey, etc. But they're almost exactly a mirror image of each other, minus a couple of things like that. So if you don't like those record sets in there, pick this one. If you're a designer, if you're a surveyor that ever maps and does record sets, pick this one. And that becomes your QNew open with one click. Similar to this one, default template for sheet creation and page setup overrides. Page setup overrides are the way we print with a couple clicks in CAD with our standard layout tabs made. So get all these set. Tool palettes, standard location. Go here. This is where we'll put some more custom tool palettes, which we're still work in progress, adding, cleaning up, maintaining. CAD standards tool palettes. This, I think, will be set correctly to C AutoCAD Temp. If it's not, you can change it to somewhere else, but I would recommend maybe leaving that alone. But this is just saying where your temporary files are going if you ever need to find them for whatever reason. Look where those go. That's helpful. So I'm going to take a minute and pause this, and I'm going to add all these settings here. All these settings here. So I start with these ones, support file path search, add these 4. Working support file path search, add these 4, and then I add all these. And Shane is doing most of this, and Seth, but just in case, this is good to know if it's missed or someone couldn't get to it, or maybe that's getting taken off of Shane's plate. But he's going to set up most of what we're about to see here. But some of them, not necessarily. They're more user preference. So let me go do that right now with my Civil 3D, and we'll start back up in a second. As I've gone into here in 2022, things look a little different. Not much different. We might find a few differences between my screenshots, but they're mostly the same. Things look a little crisper and different icons, but I'm going to start by adding my support path. And these ones are the only ones you have to add. Go to this tab and add new ones. Okay. These ones in here, go down here in the printer's support file path, they already have somewhere mapped onto C drives, which are dumb files that come with your Civil 3D. They work, but they don't work perfectly for DJNA. So most of these are already filled out. These are the exceptions up here that you have to add a new one and literally copy paste it in. And a lot of these, I went to the said folder in my DJNA Windows Explorer, like F drive, our main project drive, Civil 3D 2018 DWT, and I copied this. That's a good starting point. I'm going to add it here, paste it. Continue on with that. You can also, if you go into here, double click and go through it this way and browse to a folder and say open, and it pastes it in. Also copy paste works too. Add another one and I'll double click in here. It doesn't necessarily recognize it, so you could put a placeholder there and then double click and go back or up one level. There's a few ways, it's a little tricky. Now that I got my support file path, my 4 areas set here, I'm going to do the same to my working support file path, search path. Look up here. And actually, I just found something out interesting. Once I added my support file search path, these 4, I was having trouble going into the working support file path and having the same commands allowed. When I left, you can hit apply like anything and it applies everything, but you can still keep adding things later, or you hit OK and it accepts it. I hit OK. These weren't there originally, but when I went back to options, I'll do the right click options, they were populated. So when you do one, it populates the next. Let's move on to our next one, the image, and all these, the printer support file path, autosave location, template locations, tool palettes, and temp files. Now these 3 are done. So printer configuration search path, it's looking for PC3 files specific to the F drive. When you go to print things in AutoCAD, it grabs things from your C drive, which are different drivers that come with your computer, and the F drive, which are specific to DJNA at times, like the HP printer. It also has default ones for things like Adobe PDFs and stuff. We're going to go to the file search path for the PMP files that describe the printers, and then this is the big one, the plot style table search path. AutoCAD still looks for plot styles to tell layers how to plot. We have one main one called DJNA Mono. There's other ones for other agencies and various things. This is the overall one where the main ones go. Oop. That one area there. So I hit it without redoing it. Let me get that fixed. Or I hit it without hitting OK to accept those changes. So let's move on to the next one. Right click, options. You could also just hit apply. Double check those. These are the big ones for plotting. I'm going to move this to where I like it on my C drive desktop. Like I said, some people are scared to death of the autosave. I love using it. It saved me countless hours, and I put it on my C drive. That's just what I prefer. So there's where I put it, and it's my C users, Aaron desktop, DJNA autosave. You can put it wherever you want. Move on to the next one, to templates. This is the next key one. So as I copy pasted this is where the main templates are, F, Civil 3D 2018 DWT, and I'm going to path mine to this exact drawing for the Q new. So I could take this might speed me up, copy this to here, go like this to grab the entire file path to that exact file. I'm going to do a cut, hit escape. I'm going to say this is the exact file I want to be my opening template. I'm going to recycle and use this several times, copy, and my default sheet creation for page setup overrides. This is helpful. Oop. Oh, this needs an exact drawing as well. So copy this for your Q new one, make it the same on this for sheet set creation. Make sure it goes to the exact file. These two go to the folder. And we'll continue on to the last real area is the tool palettes, the custom tool palettes, which we'll go up a step. Let's go back to CAD standards, F-Drive CAD standards. Well, those are going to be here. And these have a little bit of work to do, but this is where they'll be for now. Now the temp drawing location, this is just where they're at. This is just to know where they're at. There's sometimes I've had to go in my temp files to grab things that were auto-saved or whatever files. Just good to know where those are at. That's more advanced stuff, but we're going to hit apply to accept all those changes. And let's move on to our next area, display. I'm going to go back here. I did a couple things with colors already. I'm going to check a few of these things. These all look good. I like to show the page setup manager for new layouts. That helps me to visualize how my sheets will print. I like my crosshair size all the way across the board. So if I hit apply, you almost have to see it. I'll show you in a second. These are all good. You can turn down the fade back your external references. I'll fade mine back sometimes a little more. That's not a bad one. I'll hit apply. They'll accept as I go. Go to the next area is open and save. This is a good one to check out. I don't necessarily have perfect standards on this one, but I'll tell you that I like to have it set to the current every 5-6 years. So 2018 to 2022, it's the same type of DWG. That's good to have this here. I love to have automatic save on. This is where you turn it on and off if you get sick of it. I do 10 minutes. That's my preference. Like I said, I probably have CAD Civil 3D crash a couple times every single day of my work career, if not more. So this saves me a lot. It's getting better and less crash prone, but 10 minutes is good enough for me. If you have this turned off, this will do you no good. It won't save anything to this. So you have to turn this on. This is where the temp files go to. Same with the autosave files in your location. They'll have something like a S something V $, something like that. They'll save. I could show you what they look like. This is actually pretty important in their clunkiness. This is the temp files, but in the autosave files, they'll look something like this. So I'll go to my location, autosave. Here's some current ones. This is one from just right now. They will save with a SV $. In order to use them, you got to copy them out of your autosave location and call them DWG so they can be opened in AutoCAD. I have some old ones from Glacier Park from weeks ago. They populated. The backup files work similarly. Just like AutoCAD backup files, you got to rename them DWG. And wherever you're saving your file, the default setting in AutoCAD, if we save this drawing, or QS for QSave. Let's just save it to my desktop. It saves to my desktop. It's here. It's going to have DWLs go with it. Those are temp files that need to stay open. When you close AutoCAD, they're gone, and they contain temporary information. Here's my file. It will save a backup file. Those are the very last save. So when I save this, or I'll just type in QSave, save, now it has a backup file, which populated right here. So just like the temp save files, or the autosave files, you have to rename them. So wherever this is a good setting to leave. I leave the backups on. I got to put it with a number 1 so it's not a redundant file. It says, you want to change the file? Yes, of course I do. And you use those. So they work similar to backup files. A lot of people don't know too much about using those, and they save my butt a lot. So let's go back to options. And I'm going to continue on in this one. I like to have the number of files. I'm curious if this went up a little bit. Nope, 9 is the max. This is how many files on my menu, application menu, that are my recent files I can quickly click on. That's really handy. It's good that it leaves it like that. I like everything I have here. Let's go to plot and publish. This gets a little deeper. Automatic publish settings. Let's talk about this first. This is a big one. This is when you're doing your batch plots. I like to publish on save. I don't like to do it prompt on closing and stuff. Only when I save. I like to add this to my C drive. So let me find, excuse me, my desktop. I like them to go to my desktop to start, just because then I can move them where I wish. Every job has that similar desktop and you're actively doing it. I definitely like to change this to PDF. DWF is like AutoCAD version of PDF. I'm not even going to waste my time with it. Multi-sheet file, it means it prints multiple PDFs to one sheet. I way prefer that over a single sheet. Single sheet's slow, clunky. You got to add the sheets together later. Why not have it do it all at once right now? Layer information, I like to include that. So in the PDF, when you open it in a PDF viewer, it has layers in it. That's pretty cool. You don't have to have that on, but I like it. It's an extra bonus. Lines overwrite. This one's rarely talked about, but important. It's good that this is the default setting. It means lines that cross or sit on top of each other, one overwrites the other. If you have lines merged, they will merge together and blend and make a different type of print. That can be handy for certain things, but for the most part, no. Block information. We'll say don't include. Older versions, it said disabled, password protected. We don't have that, so you might see your options like this. In 2022, they get a little more modern here. We'll leave these all and don't include. Those are the big ones. Hit OK. That was the big one. I personally very much hate that this is on. I don't want things to auto-publish, and it's good that that's the default setting. I'm going to turn this off. This is a big one. I don't want to see those logs saved. I want this definitely to be in the background. Set your default printer, the printer you use the most. Since we've, in our files area, we've set where our printers are, and it's looking for them on the server. Shane will have these uploaded. So these ones up top here with this icon, these are on your C drive. C drive, C drive, C drive, default printers. Some of them, actually, I said that wrong. These ones, yeah, no, they're on your C drive. So these ones are on your C drive installed, including the HP. We'll maybe change that to get to our servers. So these are all C drive, C drive. These ones, these printers are on our server that have the /DJNA app. You want those. Those are all of our main heavy hitter printers. Now, these are what I linked to in our F drive. These are extra stuff. This is actually where our HP gets connected to for the most part, and some other printers. Now this Sharp has gone to the server F drive or wherever Shane put it. And these are ones, these PC3s are on our F drive. So there are 3 different versions of printers. This is the printer I use the most, so I want that to be my default. Let's see. I like this to stay here. Default location for plot to file operations. This just is a file that gets appended to. It's a text file. I don't think you can turn it off. I like to just keep it there so it's out of sight, out of mind. I leave this on. That's good. That's good. This is good. These are all good to start. Let's accept those. Next one is system. And I like to leave this on here. Leave that. This is a big one. This regens every time you switch layouts. I like to have it cache model tabs as I move between model tabs and layouts. This speeds up your drawing tremendously depending on how many tabs and how big it is. Hit that. I'm liking everything here. That is default. Let's hit apply once again to keep going. User preferences. I like this. These are fine. I don't know much about changing that for any reason, or some of these, or this. I don't see a reason to change any of these. These should be all good. Drafting, you can change some personal preferences on your pick sizes and stuff, and your colors of all the little things you like here. I'm not going to make any recommendations here. I actually like leaving them the way they are, just 5 less things to mess with. I've changed some of the colors, like I said, here and here earlier into the only few I like paper space, for example. Let's go to 3D modeling. And I don't see much I want to change here. By viewport 6, nope, all good. Selection, this should be about good to leave as default for now too. Leave everything to default here. Profiles, we won't get into this much, but I could create a profile which saves most of my custom user interface, and I could add one to the list and say, do this once everything's dialed in. This might not be the best time, but save it periodically perhaps. Let's say apply and close. I would just leave this Civil 3D Imperial for now though. Have that on the back burner. We can play with this on another setup. We'll leave that alone though. AEC editor. These are some newer stuff in the last few versions of CAD. We're going to leave all this stuff alone. And we'll hit apply. And okay. So that takes care of all the settings in this area. And the optional ones too. CAD standards, yada yada. You can take a look and pause the video there. Close this. That's pretty much ends it for most of you for the most part. Now, if you really move around some things, like I said, install your vehicle tracker and stuff at this time, I might say save current as. This one I like to use more. This saves my whole CUI. So I can go back to it if I panic and things disappear and I'm losing my mind. I can quickly click this. I'll show you in a second. So I'll go to 3D modeling. And it just goes to, it's set up for 3D modeling, right? It's kept some of my stuff, but oh no. Let me just go back to my custom user interface. It'll bring it all back up the way I like it. At least it sort of did. It put these in front of the properties. It got pretty close. Just watch out for little weird tricks like that. That's not that big of a deal, but it got it back. So that's helpful. Now I'm going to go into some survey settings, I think towards the end. We turn my autosave off, tool palettes, which are located here in CAD Standard Survey Standard. This configures our survey database. We're mostly using Trimble Business Center now, but it's good to have the option of using the survey database in AutoCAD. It's how we automatically produce line work. Now I'm going to set that up. Feel free to skip ahead a little bit if you don't want to know more about this. But here is our survey database stuff. It should really be renamed DJNA 21.5 is our most current one. These are the main files it's accessing. They're the default files that tell automatic line work how to work and feature figure prefix database, line work code sets, those two items mainly. And there's some images to literally walk you through it. And the description key sets are another matter. This is a way to control Kogel points. I won't go into that here. These are old versions of as I've built those out. So it'll show you how to do this step by step. First step is to go here to your settings. This hasn't changed much in versions. You go to your tool space, survey tab, and you hover on this. Click here to edit survey user settings. You're going to have to change this in several spots. Let's cascade down what we don't need. Equipment defaults, we don't mess with that. Like I said, we do most of this in TBC now, Trimble Business Center, but it doesn't hurt to have this set up. So I'm going to go back to that F drive location. And honestly, since I have it open here in Windows Explorer already, let me copy, paste it. I'm looking for it through the user interface. Say select this. Basically, we're going to copy this to all instances. Select folder again. This one. I don't think it lets me copy paste, interesting enough. So I got to copy paste it here. I've had to set this up dozens of times the last couple of years for people. It's a tough one if they do mapping. And now this is key. We want to process the line work. We want to put that on yes. We want to change it to our line work processing code set. We also want to change this one. I actually don't know if it lets you. Yeah. We'll leave this one alone. These ones aren't necessarily needed to be changed. We'll change this one for now. Now our figure prefix database, we need to tell it to use the one we want. Sample is just the default placeholder that I just leave in the settings in Civil 3D to leave alone. We won't change any of these. It's mainly make sure this is on. Our DGNA ones, this is on. Make sure this line work code set's on. Picked. That's path. This is on, this is on. Hit OK. Now we can make survey databases in our way and form. So your first thing you do is you set a working folder to, you got to do this like data shortcuts per project. So let's say I want to go to one project on the F drive. I go to said project. This is where you would put it. Mostly for mappers here. Skip ahead if you're not mapping much, but it's good to know. Like I said, most of this is done in TBC. Let's just say it is a recent project I've done. Survey, DWG. This will be done. It should be a folder. You need to create something. I have a lot going on these maps, so I had to be kind of surgical. Or you could call it survey database. Would actually be smarter in this case. Select that folder. The next move is to make the new survey database and call it job specific. And it will make that folder, and now you have options to do automatic line work and produce line work, import survey data, and use your automatic line work stuff inside of Civil 3D to connect the dots quickly. So it basically just made a quick, here in this job that I said I was going to in the survey database, it made a double subfolder. These are new drawing, these are new, quite literally new files from 2019 to 2020. These have changed how the survey database files set up. So they're not compatible from 2019 going back, or excuse me, 2020 Civil 3D going back. So from 2020 to 2022, these have changed. So your survey databases will no longer talk to each other with the 2019 to 2020 version change. So that's one area of non-backward compatibility, but it shouldn't affect us very little. You can always create a new one and rerun line work. So at this point, I like what I've done in Civil 3D. It's unlike MicroStation. If you close Civil 3D without crashing, if you crash, all bets are off or have a fatal error. But if you close it cleanly, all what you save should, all your settings should save. Your non-drawing things, MicroStation does the opposite. It saves your settings automatically as you bounce through. Or excuse me, it doesn't save your settings automatically like we're about to do. You have to tell it to do that with a separate command by default. It usually auto-saves your drawing. Civil 3D is usually the opposite. You have to tell your drawing when to save, when you want, or auto. And when you close Civil 3D, it will automatically save your settings. So let's close it. I don't want to save this to, well, I'll just say yes to it for now. And let's experiment by reopening Civil 3D 2022. I like to put mine in my start menu here. So I have my palette of programs. When you reopen Civil 3D 2022, your settings will have maintained without having crashed in between. So as you see, this is big. See if what you did in options was successful. It automatically opened with a Q new my DJNA template, my survey template, and I can tell because it has the survey language here and a survey annotation of properties here. Most of my stuff is all coming in. Funny, I didn't get my command bar to stick. That's been a little bit of a problem now and then. Just note that. It still was there, it just wasn't in the user interface I like. I like it like this. So most everything is still here. It's all the way I left it. Everything going on. Menus on. The command bar. This is another area I almost forgot, is my tool tray here. Before I say that, you can see all my surveying tabs here open. It opened the correct template I like. It opened up as a DWG. I don't want everyone editing the template. When I hover up here, I can see all the different layouts. I can hover on this way, quickly move across. It doesn't open them. This is a way to speed up seeing what's in a drawing. Just hover. I'm not clicking on anything. So I have what I want there, and it opens it up as a DWG and defaults to drawing one. That's great. That's what I want a template to do. I don't want to edit it. But before I go there, I'm going to turn on, I like turning on everything because I use the majority of these all the time, at least 80% of them, for my quick drafting stuff. Here's another way to get to all your different layouts and your templates. O-snaps, polar, ortho, line weights, selection cycling, dynamic input, isolate objects, particular Civil 3D objects. And at this point, this is a good time to consider locking my user interface. So I'm going to lock all the options. You might turn some on and off so you can float them later. See, now I cannot move them. I can't move anything. I can turn them off. I can turn them off. So it allows me to do that. That's about all you can do. So I can turn them on and off this way as well, and they should come back the way I want them to. So let's say in this instance, I want to turn my XRES back on. It'll pop back up where I left off. One of them is the event viewer or panorama. This one's annoying. This one you will want to probably move around and recascade, so you might need to rethink sometimes turning some of these on and off. So I turn just the floating window off. Now I can do that with all these, but I mainly don't lock them all for this panorama, so I can move it around depending on what action items I'm doing. Like when I go to volumes dashboard and analysis, it opens another tab. Or whatever, if you're messing with Kogo points inside of a drawing, if you're doing alignment analysis. So I'll turn that off. I'm getting better to where I'm at, what I like. Now is the time to probably start adding add-ins like Cloudworks and Vehicle Tracker and various things. Ask Shane or myself for help on those. A lot of them are buried deep in certain areas like the downloads area, which is mostly their DJNA software, and drive downloads. For example, let me try to just insert one. I'm going to try to find Cloudworks. Here I have Cloudworks 6.5. I'm going to turn off Civil 3D before I install. I'm going to say no. Remember, it'll save my settings. I'm going to install this. Most of these add-ins should install quickly like this. In the next opening of Civil 3D, they will be in your Civil 3D. Ask Shane to help you with this, or myself, mostly Shane and Seth, to help with this, to find where all these best add-ins are. They know a little more about the software, which versions. So depending on the add-in, let them install and leave AutoCAD off. I might be able to turn on Vehicle Tracker, but I need to get the newest version for 2020. I won't mess with that right now, but I basically installed one add-in, my Cloudworks. As I finish, let me turn on Civil 3D again. I haven't tested this one extremely well with 2022 yet. Some apps, add-ins especially, aren't always compatible with all versions of AutoCAD. That throws another wrench in, depending what add-in apps you use. Like I use SyncPack and Cloudworks and Vehicle Tracker. Sometimes they're not compatible like DWGs are, so keep that in mind. I'm opening up, and if you install the wrong ones or mess with stuff, they oftentimes will not give you a great time opening up Civil 3D. So in this case, it did not install, so I probably need to get a new version of Cloudworks, but talk to Shane on that stuff to get the right versions for you to install on your newest version of Civil 3D for add-ins. That's about it for dialing your stuff in for Civil 3D, but before I go on your initial install, let's see some of the power of what I've changed on the options, particularly two big ones, some background stuff going on, how things are plot through the template we got dialed in. We talked a bit about that, and the printer options and the plot style option in particular. So when I type in plot, let's say don't show, continue to a single sheet, so this doesn't come up again. You want to see this DJNA mono STB. This means you're pathing correctly to the F drive. A lot of you that use laptops have old versions of this saved to your C drive. Keep in mind, you're on your C drive in your own little world path to this. This usually doesn't change. I've changed it quite a bit this last year. It should be done being changed for a while, but this is very key to how everything plots a certain way with DJNA standards. Beyond that, these page setups are very key too. So I have every option here. These are mostly survey related. Way too many for most of you to need to worry about, but the main ones for us are these DJNA standard PDF ones for any user, and these are our Missoula Office ones. They could or could not be removed, but since most of us are in the Missoula Office, I've left them for different Conoco Minolta and HP printers. For the most part, the template should have all these dialed in, so it just goes to DJNA standard PDF. Apply that to layout. It should already be on. And you preview, it goes exactly to the sheet. Those are super handy for plotting a sheet. You literally do one click. They're not exactly saving right now, which is interesting. They're also accessible. They should remain with that sheet. But anyway, there's some bugs potentially with these turning on and off in this newer version of Civil 3D. When you pick these page setups in your template, it'll automatically print the way you want, and it'll save it for the next setting, so you don't have to set any of these options. Any of these options are all ready to go for you. So if you go to a 8.5 by 14 legal size sheet, for example, you're ready to plot exactly the way it's showing here.